Thank you, Carson, for being patient. Hello. Is this out of Jacksonville or something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But is this on the live stream?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so just Jacksonville best bet. What was the size of the game?
It was a 5-10 game, but as soon as the first card was shuffled, it had a straddle on, so it was a 5-10-25. The villain in the hand is in the hijack. Or no, cut off.
Okay.
He opened 75.
Oh, by how deep are you guys? You guys are like 15K deep, right?
Yeah, we're super deep.
So 15K effective. Okay. Yeah.
415 is what I had on the stream.
Okay, so 15.4K effective at 5, 10, 25. Okay, so cutoff opens to what?
He opens 75.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then it folds to the big blind, who is a loose guy.
Okay.
And he calls. And then I'm in the straddle with 10-8 of clubs, and I call.
10 of clubs, 8 of clubs. Okay. Call.
Yeah.
All right, so the pot is like probably like two and change, maybe 230, something like that. So cut off to 75, big blind calls. Here in the straddle with 10-8 of clubs and calls. Okay.
Flop is king of 10-5, 2 clubs. And so it checks to the cutoff, and he bets 75.
Okay.
And then the big blind folds.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we have the most standard call here ever.
Look at this, another three-way pot here between Sam, Todd, and Carson. 5, king, 10, 2 clubs.
Yep. So hero calls with pair plus flush draw.
Yep.
All right. So 3-8, and the reason why I think it's way more of a call than a raise is just because you have a pair here. So if the preflop raiser doesn't really have anything, you have a pretty large hammer law. You don't usually need to choose this one as one to start semi bluffing with, as opposed to like if you were to have queen jack or something like that. So 380 to the turn. Okay. Mm-hmm.
The turn's the offsuit 6, no backdoor flush draw.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I check.
Mm-hmm.
The cutoff bet's 750.
750.
Yep.
He is definitely going to overbet this. Wants all the flush draws to fold, all the 10s to fold.
He 2x.
So he starts with a $75 bet and now he goes 2x.
Yep. Well, I also think it's a pretty easy call. Is
this always a call? I mean, it's so rare to like face this type of. It's kind of rare to face this type of two. I mean, I guess it's just 2x sizing.
I feel like your best calls, in my opinion. I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of queen jack of clubs, but I think like nut flush draws are fairly easy calls, and then like your pairs and flush draws. The only thing I was kind of debating also in my range is like having the 8-7 of clubs. Is there ever a raise, and do we ever have like king 6 here, like king 6 suited that wants to check raise turn? And I think 8-7 of clubs probably. It's weird because probably like if I'm going to choose a hand to check raise, I think 8-7 of clubs is probably a good hand.
Well, it's got to be better than pair plus flush draw, right? Because if he had a hand, because if he's in a situation where he's planning on taking, let's say he has queen jack of clubs, or he has some hand, I don't know if you'd ever take like ace queen of clubs or something like this. You know, so a lot of times you might see a situation like this where it goes like 2x and then give up. Right?
Yeah.
So if he goes 2x and then the river's a brick and he goes check, check, you win with 10-8 of clubs, right? But you're not going to win with 7-8.
The nut flush draw too.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. What you said about king 6 is kind of interesting though too, because that's one where you're like, do you want to, against 2x sizing, like, are you playing this like you are having some strong hands to like call across rivers? It's just not a very common line to see your hand is vulnerable. Yeah. So I don't know what gets check raised necessarily.
I personally don't think that I should have a raising range in this spot.
Like what about 5-5? If you're not check raising 5-5 on the flop, you're just still going to, once he takes the sizing on the turn, you're going to call.
Yeah, once he takes the sizing, I think just my whole range has to play as a call.
Mm-hmm.
I think 5-5 is raising a lot flop, but like definitely has to mix. But I think King 10 is a lot more of a pure mix. I mean, I don't know how much on the weeds we want to get, but like
my other question to you too is that so if you're going to play whatever hands that you are continuing with, right, as a call,
yeah.
I assume that you're just going to check every river with all your hands as well.
Yes, I don't. Well, maybe if there's a flush draw, there's a chance. Like there's maybe a case to be said about blocking.
If you had the nut flush draw, would you lead the river? Maybe something like that.
Yeah, I think if the flush card comes in, I think being able to have like a 10% blocking range makes a lot of sense.
Block the river. Block the river.
Yeah.
Like block bet the river.
Yeah, like King 6 can take a 10% pot line against like aces and stuff like that.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah. You mean if like a deuce of clubs came out,
yeah,
and you just bet, and you had King 6, you might bet like 15% or something. All right, so cutoff goes 750, and you call.
Yeah.
2x the pot, basically.
Absolutely not going anywhere after that turn.
No.
So that's 1880. 1880. Yeah. Well, of course, you don't have King 6. So, well, what about if a 10 comes? Do you block a 10 then if the river comes? With your hand, I mean. Or a 10 or an 8?
I probably would just check it personally, just because, I don't want to get in the future and spoil it, but like, I think checking it is just kind of fine because, like, if a 10 comes in, like, aces are still going to value bet and stuff like that. And then you can potentially check raise. Like
they should. Ace, king, or 8. Right. Ace, king, or ace. Right. Actually, you might even get, if you start to block a 10, you might just get called where you would have got a bigger value bet, right? If you took a value own line. All right. So 1880 to the river. Okay.
And a 10 on the river.
And the river is a 10.
Okay.
And I check.
Okay. So you do check. All right. So, I mean, I know you wrote that, but I literally didn't, at least I didn't remember it. So you do check. So you're not going to, we talked about this. So you're not going to block this because you think that those hands will still value bet, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
I check, and after like a 40-second tank.
I mean, listen, his YouTube channel is called Bluffalo.
That it is.
So,
I mean, it checks out.
All in. He rips it.
He rips it?
Yep.
For what, like 14,000?
14.5, yeah.
I don't know if we've ever had this type of bet here in 7 years of. So this guy is the cutoff, right? Cutoff. So like right around 14,500. So like almost 7 times the size of the pot.
A little more, yeah.
It's so weird because it's like, how do you construct?
Yes.
How do you construct a calling? Do you look at it from like an MDF perspective? So I don't even know. I mean, say you have to defend with 10% of your hands here, right? Or you know what I mean? Something like that. Like what are the, and the other thing too is that like, if you have 10x of clubs here, right? You have 8-10 of clubs. The fact that you have 10-8 versus if you had like Queen 10 or Ace 10 of clubs, I don't think that makes any difference. Because it's just 10x of clubs, right? There's only one 10x of clubs. It's just a 10. The only 10 that you're getting here with is 10x of clubs. So your kicker doesn't make any difference with your 10. So you can't be like, oh, I'll call with ace 10 and fold out 10-8, which is where like some people might go down that line, which wouldn't be correct, right?
Yes.
Who is this guy? Is this the guy that, is he, because I've done a fair amount of Jacksonville videos. Is this one of like the good players? Like who, I remember there's like 2 quiet players, like guy used to have like long hair. I don't remember their names, but
Toby?
Yeah, that's one of them.
Okay. So no, this guy's from out of town. He's actually a poker vlogger.
What
his name's
vlog?
It's Bluffalo Sam.
I'm not super familiar. Does he have any MO? Did you know who he was beforehand?
Okay, so I did know that he was a poker vlogger, and I watched one of his vlogs before. I didn't really watch it. But he just got done with a bankroll challenge. He started with like $100 and played like some like small online tournaments, and then like within like 9 months turned $100 into 100,000 in like a bankroll challenge, playing like a bunch of 1-3. And then he, like, having talked to him like on the stream and stuff like that, he was playing in Texas and started playing on like a 5-10s and 10 quarters. But this is the most I think he ever had in front of him.
Well, I got to tell you, so you now I'm reading some of the comments here. Carson, let me throw something out. Let me throw something at you, okay? What if the villain was Rampage?
Yeah,
I assume you would call, right?
Yeah.
After all the spewy stuff that he did.
Yeah, like it's just weird because like King, I think King 10 can play theoretically this way, but also like I don't think fives can ship it for this kind of price.
Well, I was kind of thinking that fives might be the one that fives or sixes. Would sixes start a bet into two people on the flop on this board? I mean, I would have thought that it would have been part of the bottom part of the stuff that unblocks top pair. Why do you think fives shouldn't do this?
Well, because
you have King 10.
Yeah, because I can have King 10. I can have like a really weird play like 10-6, or not weirdly play, but I can have like the one combo of like 10-6. I can have like, I just think that we still like, and I'll have fives, not as big of a clip, but like it's definitely gonna be mixed. But like I'm gonna be uncapped here is kind of the issue that we run into, and that's where I don't feel like it makes a whole lot of sense because.
Well, here's the other thing though too. So if you think it's like, and there's some people in the chat agreeing with you, and I read a comment here which makes a whole lot of sense, that if it's unlikely to be a king here because it just seems bizarre, right, for value. So King 10 becomes like the hand of like polarizing, like King 10 or a bluff. It's good you have a 10 here in your hand. You'd rather have 10-8 than pocket fives, right? If it's King 10 or nothing, right? And because we said that the only 10 that you're going to end up with here is 10x of clubs and it makes no difference what your kicker is, then, that's the hand. That's why it's kind of weird to look at this one. Like, how do you look at this one? Like from an MDF? I mean, because we're making some large assumptions that it would be really bizarre for King to ever play it this way.
Yeah. And so I kind of discounted Kings a good bit. I'm sure he like could have it, but I just think it's kind of an odd line to take with Kings.
Right.
And so like having King 10, I guess like makes sense, but also like why would you go that size? Like what are you getting called by?
My only thought here is that, like I said, obviously it's a bizarre situation, but I'll tell you what I would think in the moment, and just using this. If the decision was close, I would of course try to use all the information that I had. And I'm not even talking about theoretical. The fact that he is a vlogger and I haven't really played a hand like this in 20 years in my career, I would call. Because I feel like that there's some sort of inherent value in him trying to run this bluff. Whereas if it was like an entirely unknown guy or somebody that I respected a lot, it would be a harder decision. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely agree. I think that's where I kind of landed on with his hand. And so it was like, I did end up calling, but I actually had a easier
You
decision.
You did call.
Yeah, I didn't have 10-8 of clubs, but it was one of those spots like I was thinking about it for a long time. It's like, I don't understand what I would do with 10x of clubs here. But
wait a minute, did you just pull the same thing that this guy did to me last week with was it the nerdy Asian guy, the MIT guy? Who flipped it? So you flipped me around again? You guys are flipping me around again?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess, but I had 10-6 of clubs.
You had 10-6 of clubs. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And a snap call.
Wow. Oops.
And so I basically snapped them off.
Right. I'll say so 10-6 of clubs just in case, because you're saying that he's not really supposed to play pocket fives this way, but maybe he would. So that's another hand you beat, right?
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
it was actually it was kind of funny because like the pot was like 1,800 and like it just balloons like that. And it was like a 2-second call. I kind of looked at him strange, like, okay, I call.
Right. So you didn't really have to go. So, right. What would you have done with 10-8 of clubs? I mean,
I think you'd have to find a call here. I've did some research a little bit more after the hand, and he said he would take this line with ace 10, which it's hard to believe that he would 2x it on the turn.
With ace 10?
Yeah, I just didn't. Yeah, I don't really understand it. I think like you can have like a 2x or 3x like river bet.
So the reason why right, because I keep talking about how there's no difference between having 10-8 or whatever the quality of the 10 is. And if he somehow did this with ace 10, that you could sometimes get value towned. That makes a lot of assumptions though. I mean, sure, the start with a $75 C bet into two people, that 2x on the turn followed by 15x. So did he have like an air? What did he have? Did he have airball or what?
A snap call.
Oops.
That's interesting. So I'm just looking back at this because I'm trying to think about his bluff. I mean, something obviously has to be somewhat out of whack, but looking back at, I guess what the line of thinking could be is that once he 2x's the turn, the only 10x that you're ever left with is 10x of clubs. So then when the river's a 10, right?
Yeah.
You are folding out all just bare king X here.
Yeah.
And then you actually you also get counterfeit with king 6, right?
Yeah, and king 5 if I have that, like king 5 of spades or king 5 of suited, I mean.
Now, I don't know if I'm going to give that guy credit with Buffalo Sam in his name as a vlogger for thinking that through all the way, but yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it.